Gaynor Goodman Photo Shoot 1989. New York, 1911. Longacre Square South. Times Square to you and me, with the Rector and Astor hotels flanking the New York Times building, now almost completely encased in electronic signage and launch pad for the New Year's ball drop. Circa 1900. Harry Houdini, 1874 to 1926, full-length portrait, standing, in chains. New York circa 1947. Billie Holiday and her dog Mr. at a 52nd Street Jazz Club. June 1940. One spot town along U.S. Highway No. 1, between Washington and Baltimore. New York circa 1947. Jazz singer Dottie Reed walking on 52nd Street. July 1946. New York. Doris Day at the Aquarium, Jazz Club on 7th Avenue. September 1941. Two of the Gaynor boys walking to school near Fairfield, Vermont. April 1947. New York. Chirp discusses life while getting a massage, is the caption for this revealing photo of the unjustly obscure jazz singer Gloria King. September 1941. Outside a freak show at the State Fair in Rutland, Vermont. September 1939. Son of Tigard Valley homesteader in Randolph County, West Virginia. New York circa 1948. Jazz singer at the Onyx Club, 52nd Street. July 1954. Doctor's office from the point of view of a woman suffering from schizophrenia. June 1953. Clara Bell takes to the hills. Howdy Doody show character Clara Bell the Clown, actor Nick Nicholson, visiting the Dolan family in Boone County, West Virginia. August 1947. New York. Lou Blum, Jack Crystal, Reaching, and Herbie Hill, Rear, at Milt Gabler's Commodore Record Shop on 42nd Street. December 1940. Lineup of trucks at workers' camp near Naval Air Base, now under construction. Corpus Christi, Texas. August 1941. Scene in farmhouse kitchen near Burlington, Vermont. (1862) White House Landing, Virginia. Federal supply vessels at anchor. December 1940. San Diego, California. 3 boys from Los Angeles who are looking for work. A friend who is already employed told them that they could make $20 a week as laborers. The beautiful Sophia Loren, 1957. Florida circa 1897. Flagler Memorial Presbyterian Church, St. Augustine. October 1941. Mrs. Melvin Rivers, some of her children and her father-in-law in their new relocation corporation farm to which they have moved just recently, near Orwell, New York. September 1941. Merrymakers at the World's Fair in Tunbridge, Vermont. October 1941. Children of Dan Sampson, who moved out of the Pine Camp expansion area in August, waiting in the family car for the school bus near South Rutland, New York. September 1941. Small town scenes in Vermont. Locomotive passing through Enosburg Falls. December 1941. Christiansted, St. Croix, U.S. Virgin Islands. Class in the Christiansted High School. August 1941. Dickie Gaynor, son of FSA dairy farmer near Fairfield, Vermont. September 1941. Tunbridge, Vermont, the Main Street. May 1941. Intersection of the 2 main streets of Childersburg, Alabama. New York circa 1888. Street Arabs in sleeping quarters. September 1941. One of the machines that grind wood into pulp at the Missisquoi Corporation paper mill at Sheldon Springs, Vermont. May 1941. Main Street of Childersburg, Alabama. May 1941. Workmen from the nearby DuPont powder plant in a cafe in Childersburg, Alabama. A colorized version of this national photo glass plate. Washington, D.C., circa 1921. National Fruit Company, 11th Street, NW. San Francisco, circa 1930. Marmon Big 8 rumble seat coupe at Golden Gate Park. Portrait of Billie Holiday at the Downbeat Club, New York, CA. February 1947. August 1864. Camp of Chief Ambulance Officer, 9th Army Corps, in front of Petersburg, Virginia. Indianapolis, Indiana, circa 1904. Illinois Street, north from Washington. Samantha Fox poolside photo shoot, 1986. Dutchess County, New York, circa 1902. Mount Beacon Casino and Powerhouse, Fishkill on the Hudson, New York. (1956) Edina, Minnesota. Interior garden court with stairway to upper level and Southdale Regional Shopping Center, the first enclosed shopping mall. Detroit, Michigan, circa 1908. Crowd at Belle Isle Park Casino. Mohonk Lake, New York, circa 1902. Sky top from rear of Mohonk Mountain House. April 1941. School children in Franklin, Heard County, Georgia. December 1941. St. Croix, Virgin Islands. Science class at the Christiansted High School. April 1941. The movies are popular in the Negro section of Chicago. Regal Theater and Savoy Ballroom in the South Side neighborhood. Los Angeles, July 1965. Entertainer Johnny Carson on The Tonight Show delivering a monologue. November 1940. Boomtown store near Shasta Dam construction site, Shasta County, California. November 1940. Shopping centers are springing up at the small towns near Shasta Dam site. This one was at Central Valley, California. Bonus photo for you, a beautiful retro woman. The Irresistible Jane Mansfield, 1954. American actress Raquel Welch, beautiful nature photo shoot, 1966. August 1941. One of the children of Ernest Johnson, FSA client. Vernon, Vermont. August 1941. The family of Mr. Dan Sampson, father of 11 children. The Sampsons are moving out of their small, unproductive farm in the Pine Camp expansion area to a 240-acre dairy farm in South Rutland, and WWII. July 1941. The Main Street in Brattleboro, Vermont. July 1941. Working on an engine of one of the airliners. Municipal Airport, Washington, D.C. July 1941. Rhode on the outskirts of Brattleboro, Vermont. August 1941. Mrs. Myrtle Higgins of Larrysville, New York, with some of the belongings she has packed, preparing to move out of the area being taken over by the Army. March 1943. Camouflage class in New York University, where men and women are preparing for jobs in the Army or in industry, New York, New York. They make models from aerial photographs, rephotograph them, then October 1941. White Plains, Greene County, Georgia. Rest period in school. New York circa 1947. Portrait of singer Mel Torme in dressing room. January 1943. Engine Company No. 4, Washington, D.C. firemen returning from a fire. .3D was big in the early 1950s. This slide is one of 4,800 3D slides I have bought over the past 21 years. It is captioned, Susie at Home for Christmas 1950. January 1943. Engine Company No. 4, Washington, D.C. When the gong sounds the alarm, the firemen jump into their boots and get into their helmets and coats while the truck is on its way to the fire. Once the alarm is sounded, the complete operation of getting dressed and leaving the building takes about 7 seconds. Charming Dolores Wells, Miss June 1960. Circa 1904. Patchogue Avenue, Manhasset Manor, Shelter Island, New York. October 1941. Siloam, Greene County, Georgia. Children at the school. November 1941. Mrs. Buck Grant, Farm Security Administration client, with her canned goods. Near Woodville, Georgia. June 1941. Boxing. Transit workers living at the FSA Migratory Farm Labor Camp. Athena, Oregon, Mobile Unit. July 1941. Carnival attractions in Vail, Oregon, on the 4th of July. July 1941. People in Vail, Oregon, for the 4th of July celebration. All I know about this 3D slide is that it was taken in 1956. Circa 1906. Custom House, Boston, Massachusetts. Boston circa 1904. Lafayette Mall, Masonic Temple and Hotel Turenne. Magnolia, Massachusetts, circa 1906. The Oceanside from Cobblestone Beach. This image of a baby relaxing on the floor comes from a set of glass negatives taken in Pawnee City, Nebraska, around 1910. Circa 1910. Bathing Beach, Narragansett Pier, Rhode Island. Circa 1900. Ebbett House, Washington, D.C. The hotel, at 14th and F Streets NW before being torn down in 1925, lives on in the name of the old Ebbett Grill a block away. Richmond, Virginia, circa 1900. St. Paul's Episcopal Church, 9th Grace Streets. September 1941. Enosburg Falls, Vermont. Shopping on a Saturday afternoon. September 1941. Two of the Gaynor boys walking to school near Fairfield, Vermont. (1940) Farm family having 4th of July fish fry along the Cane River near Natchitoches, Louisiana. San Francisco circa 1916. Valley 6 touring car at Golden Gate Park. January 1941. The family of Peter V. Andrews, Portuguese. FSA clients. They run a small 7-acre vegetable farm near Falmouth, Massachusetts. January 1942. Arecibo, Puerto Rico. A row of station wagons or publicos waiting for loads and passengers. December 1941. San Juan, Puerto Rico. Women in the needlework factory. December 1941. Rio Piedras, vicinity, Puerto Rico. Family of a FSA borrower. Washington, D.C., circa 1908. The Boulevard, Potomac Park. November 1940. Main Street, Delano, California. January 1942. San Sebastian, Puerto Rico. Boy who was playing in the street. December 1941. San Juan, Puerto Rico. In a dress factory. October 1941. Greene County, Georgia. Canned goods made by Doc and Julia Miller, Farm Security Administration clients with 1,000 jars of fruit, vegetables, etc. they have put up for the winter. San Francisco, 1934. Firestone Battery Service. San Francisco circa 1929. Gurley Lord Tire Service Station vulcanizing molds. Rosina Ravel Photo Shoot 1950. November 1941. In the Union Point Manufacturing Company Hosiery Mill, Greene County, Georgia. December 1941. Bayamon, Puerto Rico, vicinity. Proprietor of a small general store, which will soon be evacuated because it is in an area to be taken over by the Army. Bonus photo for you, a beautiful retro woman. Samantha Fox is beautifully photographed 1986. Model Jean Bradley home photo shoot 1960. During the 1950s, it was common to pose for a photo with your new car. This 3D slide shows a young man with his new 1955 Ford. American actor Marlon Brando charming photo 1955. New Orleans circa 1890s. The Old French Market. Along Florida's Indian River circa 1890. Wood Landing in Jupiter Narrows. December 1941. Corozal, Puerto Rico, vicinity. Priest who conducted a mass and baptism and blessing of the houses at the tenant purchase celebration. American movie actor Tony Curtis sexy Oscar nominee, photo 1952. (1890s). The French Quarter, New Orleans. Its carbon arc lamps lighting the way to an electrified future. New Orleans circa 1890. St. Charles Hotel from Canal Street. Along the Mississippi River circa 1890. Cotton on the levee at New Orleans. circa 1890. Street in New Orleans near Cathedral of St. Louis. August 1938. Girl fieldworkers at the King Farm on strike against 17 cents an hour wages. Morrisville, Pennsylvania. March 1943. New Orleans, Louisiana. Loading a rubber raft onto a truck at the terminal of Associated Transport Company. March 1909. Hartford, Connecticut. 9:30 p.m. A common case of teamwork. Smaller boy, Joseph Bishop, goes into saloon and sells his last papers. Then comes out and his brother gives him more. May 1862. Yorktown, Virginia, vicinity. The Peninsular Campaign Camp Winfield Scott. Duc de Chartres, Comte de Paris, Prince de Gennevilliers and friends playing dominoes at mess table. June 1941. Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Getting a haircut at Camp Shelby. September 1938. Children buying groceries in co-op store. Greenbelt, Maryland. Washington, D.C., circa 1861. Guards at ferry landing on Mason's Island examining a pass. September 1938. Children of Greenbelt, Maryland. Family buying groceries in cooperative store. February 1943. Soldier and his girl waiting for a train at Chicago Union Station. June 1940. Diner along U.S. Highway No. 1 near Berwyn, Maryland. Wonderful Dolores Wells, Miss June 1960. August 1943. Southfields, New York. Interracial activities at Camp Nathan Hale, where children are aided by the Methodist Camp Service. The boarding house Reach. January 1942. Yauco, Puerto Rico, in a small cigar factory. These cigars are made for local consumption and sell for about 2 cents. January 1942. Ensenada, Puerto Rico. One of the mills in the South Puerto Rico Sugar Company plant. Washington, D.C., circa 1948. Trinity College. Small alcove and library on campus. January 1942. Guayanilla, Puerto Rico. Family of a sugar worker living in one of the company houses behind the mill. All these people live in the same house. May 1940. Interior of general store and pool room at STEM, Granville County, North Carolina. June 1940. Baltimore-Washington Boulevard, U.S. Highway No. 1, Baltimore, Maryland. June 1940. This woman and her daughter are helping their neighbors plant their tobacco field. The bonnet is homemade. On US 15, about 5 miles northeast of Durham, North Carolina. May 1940. Interior of pool room and general store. STEM, Granville County, North Carolina. May 1940. Grocery and STEM, Granville County, North Carolina. May 1940. Negro tobacco planter's family. The 3 children in the background are those of a neighbor. Near Farrington, Chatham County, North Carolina. May 1940. Negro tobacco planter's family. The 3 children in the background are those of a neighbor. Near Farrington, Chatham County, North Carolina. November 1940. Restaurant and beer hall in Summit City, California, Boomtown near Shasta Dam. Detroit circa 1899. Hotel Cadillac, Washington Boulevard. February 10, 1913. Washington hikers. Suffragists on bus in New York City, part of the hike to Washington, D.C., which joined the March 3, 1913, National American Women's Suffrage Association Parade. (1909) The Berkeley, Saranac Lake, Adirondack Mountains, New York. Circa 1909. Central Station, Saranac Lake, Adirondack Mountains, New York. (1909) A typical house tent, Ray Brooks Sanatorium, Adirondack Mountains. Taking the fresh air. Cure on the grounds of the New York State Hospital for incipient pulmonary tuberculosis. (1909) Stevens House Golf Links, Lake Placid, Adirondack Mountains, New York. American actress Linda Carter beautifully photographed in a swimsuit in 1977. (1891). Camp Badger, Tulare County, California. End of Mark Twain log, diameter 18 feet. Slab of giant sequoia, Kings River Grove, now part of Kings Canyon National Park, California. October 1957. Mascots at football game between Colgate Red Raiders and Cornell Big Red University teams. September 13, 1950. Pendulum pounding into a plastic helmet worn for testing by Dr. Charles F. Lombard, Director of the University of Southern California Department of Aviation Physiology. New York circa 1948. Interior decorator Ruby Ross Wood, 1881 to 1950, three-quarter length portrait, seated, at desk. May 1939. Negro domestic servant. Atlanta, Georgia. November 1940. Ansonia, Connecticut. Taking a temperature reading in the foundry at the Faro Birmingham Corporation. May 1939. Old home in Alabama built about 1850 called Silver Place, owned by Mr. Frazier, now rented by two families. San Francisco, 1928. Hudson Super 6 Landau sedan at Golden Gate Park. September 1938. Coal miners waiting for the bus to go home in Osage, West Virginia. Bonus photo for you, a beautiful retro woman. Model Debbie Ashby in a beautiful 1989 photo shoot. Unusual photo from 1980s. Photos of girls and guys in swimsuits. Why do you think they did it? November 1939. Farmers looking at their checks outside tobacco warehouse after auction sales. Durham, North Carolina. The Sunshine State circa 1897. A Florida home, Seville, Florida. May 1939. School students in typing class. Ashwood Plantations, South Carolina. July 1942. Washington, D.C. Sunday swimmers at the municipal swimming pool. New York, 1938. Convent on East 63rd Street. New York, 1938. A scene on East 62nd Street. September 1939. Students on steps of building between classes. University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, Orange County. November 1939. Tobacco warehouse during auction sales in Oxford, Granville County, North Carolina. May 1942. Childersburg, Alabama. Defense Workers Child in WPA, Work Projects Administration, Day Nursery. November 1939. Lunch stand and tobacco inside entrance to warehouse at end of auction sale. Durham, North Carolina. November 1939. Durham County, North Carolina. Cars parked along the highways on day of Duke Carolina football game near Duke University Stadium. September 1939. Street on Saturday afternoon in Belzoni, Mississippi Delta. November 1939. Barber shop on Hillsborough Street. Oxford, Granville County, North Carolina. From around 1910, three lads in Pawnee City, Nebraska, you might not want to turn your back on. Marion standing by rocker and parlor is what's written on the envelope I found this glass negative in. It's from Glenmont, New York, circa 1910. Jean Yanni in a cute 1960s home photo shoot. September 1940. Mr. and Mrs. Andrew Lyman, Polish tobacco farmers near Windsor Locks, Connecticut. April 1939. Even the gas stations in Miami Beach are on an elaborate scale, often modern design, resembling hotels. April 1939. Miami Beach, Florida. Even the gas stations are on an elaborate scale, often modern in design, resembling hotels. April 1939. Coffee County, Alabama. Mrs. Peacock and daughter Mary, rural rehabilitation clients for 4 years, getting some of their supply of canned foods for dinner. March 2, 1937. New York City. St. Paul's Chapel and Churchyard, Broadway and Fulton Streets. June 1941. Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Getting a haircut at Camp Shelby. May 1939. Repairing automobile motor at the FSA warehouse depot in Atlanta, Georgia. January 1939. Bar in Belle Glade, Florida, for Negroes. May 1939. May Queen and Maypole dance at May Day Health Day, festivities at Irwinville Farms, Georgia. San Francisco circa 1920. Jackson 6 touring car at Golden Gate Park. April 1939. Collins Avenue. Entrance to one of Miami Beach's better hotels. Washington, D.C., 1923. Inventor C. Francis Jenkins with most recent invention, radio camera with which it will be possible to send pictures by wireless. June 1939. Community swimming pool at Greenbelt, Maryland. June 1939. Somerton, South Carolina. FSA Home Supervisor assisting wife and daughter of Frederick Oliver, tenant purchase client, in canning with new pressure cooker. September 1940. Sons of Mr. Britton, coal miner farmer near Falls Creek, Pennsylvania, and member of Tri-County Farmers Co-op in Dubois. August 1940. Daughter of John Yenser of Mauch Chunk, Pennsylvania. Spring 1939. General Scene, Main Street. Greensboro, Greene County, Georgia. November 12, 1942. Jap radio tuned in on U.S. Marine communicators found this radio set which was left behind by the Japs on Guadalcanal, and use it to listen in on U.S. broadcasts in their leisure time. August 1956. Southampton, New York. Teenage girl in record store. March 1940. Brattleboro, Vermont. Corner of Main Street, center of town after blizzard. Atlantic City, New Jersey, circa 1905. Beach bathers and steel pier. Circa 1908. Main Street, Buffalo, New York. Landmarks on view include Henger's department store. Circa 1905. Broughton Street, Savannah, Georgia. Starring the National Bank of Savannah. Cuba, circa 1904. The Prado, Havana. The Cuban capital's celebrated promenade. Circa 1908. Monroe Avenue, Detroit. One of the nascent Motor City seedier districts. May 1919. The NC-4 Curtiss flying boat, designed by Glenn Curtiss, at Rockaway Beach, Long Island, New York. The NC-4 was the first aircraft to cross the Atlantic Ocean as part of the U.S. Navy transatlantic flight attempt. American pop singer Madonna, 1979. Detroit, circa 1908. Detroit City Gas Company Building, Washington Boulevard and Clifford Street. September 1940. Farm woman holding one of her children in submarginal area of Rumsey Hill, near Erin, New York. September 1953. Singer-actress Doris Day on the set of the film musical Calamity Jane. June 1941. 5-cent hot lunches at the Woodville Public School, Greene County, Georgia. Brighton Beach, New York, circa 1903. Brighton Beach Hotel and Boardwalk. Bonus photo for you, a beautiful retro woman. Charming Samantha Fox in a beautiful dress, 1988. The Incredible Gaynor Goodman 1985. New York, 1933. Midtown Manhattan skyline Rockefeller Center and St. Patrick's Cathedral. October 1959. Pilot and auto test driver Betty Skelton at McDonnell Aircraft Corporation, St. Louis. She is undergoing a multitude of physiological tests to assess her fitness to become an astronaut. July 1948. 52nd Street in New York. The street is at its best at night, when the neons start to bloom. It loses some of its carnival atmosphere when daylight dims its gaudy luster. Our astute commenters have identified this as Pittsburgh's Gateway Center, circa 1952. July 1941. Observation deck and airliner on the field seen through the window of the waiting room. Municipal, National, Airport, Washington, D.C. July 1941. An airliner being ready for a takeoff. Municipal Airport, Washington, D.C. July 1941. A Western Union girl. Washington, D.C. Municipal Airport. June 1941. Some of the children of a family who must move out. The Army is taking over the area for maneuver grounds. Caroline County, Virginia. July 1941. An airliner taking on baggage and fuel. Washington, D.C. Municipal, National, Airport. June 1941. In the area being taken over by the Army, Caroline County, Virginia. Most of the customers at this store are now soldiers. November 1940. Street scene in Mystic, Connecticut. A view down East Main Street of the Christopher Morgan House. July 1941. Negro dishwasher. Investment pharmacy, Washington, D.C. January 15, 1964. Customer buying cigarettes from tobacconist. Circa 1930. Boy in tires swing holding cow on a tether. San Francisco circa 1931. Essex Super 6 sedan at Golden Gate Park. November 1940. House, late afternoon. Mystic, Connecticut. November 1940. Children of farmers in the town of Ledyard, Connecticut, in one of the one-room schoolhouses. November 1940. After a snowstorm in Norwich, Connecticut. September 1941. Freak show at the State Fair in Rutland, Vermont. September 1941. At the State Fair in Rutland, Vermont. Charming Samantha Fox swimsuit photo shoot, 1990. November 1940. The Bar and Arts Sportsman's Tavern, Colchester, Connecticut. November 1940. Having a beer and arts sportsman's tavern on a rainy day in Colchester, Connecticut. November 1940. In a one-room schoolhouse in Ledyard, Connecticut. The teacher is Miss Holmes. November 1940. The Main Square in Colchester, Connecticut. September 1941. 3 of the Gaynor children on their farm near Fairfield, Vermont. September 1941. Mrs. W. Gaynor canning tomatoes on their farm near Fairfield, Vermont. September 1941. 2 sons of William Gaynor, FSA dairy farmer near Fairfield, Vermont. August 1941. A street corner in Burlington, Vermont. August 1941. General store in Hinesburg, Vermont. May 1941. Main Street of Childersburg, Alabama. September 1941. The Girlies Show at the State Fair in Rutland, Vermont. California, circa 1912. On the Trail. A supposedly fun thing I'll never do again, the prequel. Boston, Massachusetts, circa 1912. Copley Plaza Hotel, Copley Square. Savannah, Georgia, circa 1907. Broaden Street from Bull. (1901). Fishermen at Summit Ills. The Jersey Shore circa 1901. The Boardwalk and Auditorium Pier, Atlantic City. Pamela Green, 1957. October 30th, 1918. Base Hospital No. 7 at Tours, France. American Red Cross chaplain the Reverend F.M. Elliott taking the home addresses of interned German prisoners, so that their families may be notified that they are well. Washington, D.C., 1929. Radio with wire loop antenna. October 1968. Entertainer Jimmy Durante performing nightclub act with Showgirls. January 1941. Negro Church in Mill District of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. New York, 1923. Miss Sylvia B. Fish listening into a radio program. Saginaw, Michigan, circa 1908. Houses on South Weedock Avenue. January 1941. Workers' houses near Pittsburgh Crucible Steel Company in Midland, Pennsylvania. January 1941. Main Street in the steel town of Midland, Pennsylvania. March 1941. Traffic on the main street of Fayetteville, North Carolina at about 5 o'clock, when the workers start coming out at Fort Bragg. The gift unwrapping frenzy passed, and despite his being nearly crowded out of the frame, my father seems to be finding serenity by returning to normal daily routine, i.e. reading in his leather chair. Usually it would be the daily papers, but note the reserved stock of various publications overflowing the magazine rack. Bonus photo for you, a beautiful retro woman. The beautiful and lovely Norma and Sykes, 1965. American film actress Jane Mansfield, 1955. Pamela Green, English glamorous model and movie actress, 1955. Sophia Loren photo shoot on a balcony in Italy, 1958. Delilah Di Lazzaro, Italian model, actress, 1979. Scranton, Pennsylvania, circa 1901. Municipal Building, Washington Avenue. Savannah, Georgia, circa 1907. Broaden Street from Bull. August 1942. Washington, D.C. Saturday afternoon, 7th Street and Florida Avenue, NW. December 1941. Elevated train structure and buildings, Lower Manhattan. December 1941. New York. Broadway from Bowling Green. January 1939. Coal miner and business center of Colt, Illinois. June 1939. Dudes at Bar. Bernie, Montana. June 1939. Bartender in Bernie, Rosebud County, Montana. September 1939. Ernest W. Kirk Jr., whose team of mules was bought with a Farm Security Administration loan. Near Ordway, Colorado. May 1940. Bank and Copper Mining Center of Bisbee, Arizona. Gaynor Goodman's swimsuit photo shoot, 1966. July 1940. Filling station is only building of modern design in the Spanish-American village of Penasco, New Mexico. September 1940. Railway station at Ophir, Colorado, a small gold mining town. September 1940. Theater in Ouray, Colorado. July 1936. Hill House, Mississippi. Girls with food. December 1941. Hunters. Daly, West Virginia. November 1940. Tulare County, California. Corner of kitchen in Schmidt House at Mineral King Cooperative Farm. November 1940. Son of Mr. Schmidt, member of Mineral King Cooperative Farm, doing his homework. Tulare County, California. November 1940. U.S. mail truck used in snowy mountain sections of Nevada County, California. November 1940. Main store in Tropic, Utah. November 1940. Children in yard of Old Mormon House at Tropic, Utah. December 1940. Carpenter's wife unpacking a trunk at tent camp for defense workers in Mission Valley, California. December 1940. Workers eating lunch from the Consolidated Aircraft Factory. San Diego, California. December 1940. Workmen during lunch period from the Consolidated Aircraft Factory, San Diego, California. November 1939. Street corner in Gonzales, Texas. April 24, 1973. Interview with Lieutenant Commander John S. McCain, Vietnam POW. Camera shop owners in Titusville, Pennsylvania, 1948. Titusville, Pennsylvania, 1946. West Central Avenue as seen from the Archer camera shop. Larkspur, California yard. I shot this in fall 1973 on glorious Kodachrome. I was in Ghirardelli Square when I took this Kodachrome slide in summer 1966. Capitol Records Tower, an equitable building, dominate my slide from August 1963. Bonus photo for you, a beautiful retro woman. English actress Margaret Nolan, 1968. November 1961. Actress Sophia Loren posing with First Ole. Color Transparency by Michael Vaccaro. (1938). New York, New York. East 62nd Street, where this two-masted schooner sets sail every wash day. May 1941. Child at FSA Migratory Labor Camp Mobile Unit, Wilder, Idaho. May 1941. Marines riding the electric automobiles at Mission Beach Amusement Center, San Diego. May 1941. Farm worker with his wife and their twin babies at the FSA Migratory Labor Camp Mobile Unit, Wilder, Idaho. The Niagara River circa 1901. International, Upper Steel Arch, bridge from below at Niagara Falls. Detroit circa 1905. Steamer Sappho at Belle Isle Ferry Dock, Woodward Avenue. September 1940. Montrose, Colorado. Loading express packages into Denver Rio Grande Western truck, which takes them to points on the narrow gauge railroad where passenger and express service is not otherwise available. September 1940. Montrose, Colorado. Loading express packages into Denver Rio Grande Western truck, which takes them to points on the narrow gauge railroad where passenger and express service is not otherwise available. February 1967. San Francisco. Rock group The Jefferson Airplane. Members Paul Kentner, Marty Balin, Yoma Kaukonen, Jack Cassidy, Spencer Dryden and Grace Slick posing outdoors. November 1942. Babies Hospital, New York. Student nurses, like Susan Petty of Lebanon, Pennsylvania, are rendering their country a great service by making it possible for experienced nurses to join the Army or Navy Nurse Corps. November 1942. New York. Nurse training. After a day of hard work and study, Susan Petty and her fellow student nurses enjoy a swim and frolic in the pool, one of the recreational facilities offered in the School of Nursing residence. February 1943. Enola O'Connell, age 32, widow and mother of one child, ex-housewife, now the only woman welder at Heil & Company, Milwaukee, maker of gasoline trailers for the Army Air Forces. October 1st, 1936. Washington, D.C. Supreme Court Guard. You may approach the bench. Then make a sharp right. English model and actress, the beautiful June Palmer, 1964. July 1942. Truckload of ponderosa pine, Edward Hines Lumber Company operations in Malheur National Forest, Grant County, Oregon. April 1941. Seen in Negro section of Chicago, Illinois. April 1941. Couple at roller skating rink. South Side, Chicago, Illinois. October 11, 1904. Bath, Maine. Launch of the battleship USS Georgia at Bath Iron Works. April 1941. Roller skating on Saturday night. Chicago, Illinois. April 1941. Kitchenette apartments on South Parkway, Chicago, Illinois. These are rented to Negroes. April 1941. South Side, Chicago, 47th Street, Bronzeville. June 1940. Youngsters in a bar at Mogollon, New Mexico. October 11, 1904. Bath, Maine. In the stream launch of the USS Georgia at Bath Iron Works. June 28, 1946. Midtown Motors, 950 Van Ness Avenue, San Francisco. Back when Ford specialized in making cars. May 1941. Main Street of Twin Falls, Idaho. According to Idaho State Guide, Federal Writers Project, this town has the distinction, unusual in towns in the section, of being planned. April 1941. Seen in Negro section of Chicago, Illinois. November 1939. Hotel and garage in Gonzales, Texas. November 1939. Street corner in Gonzales, Texas. April 1941. Children playing under the elevated on the south side of Chicago. April 1941. Movie theater. South Side, Chicago, Illinois. December 1940. Family of carpenter's helper who live in a trailer. Corpus Christi, Texas. October 1976. I was with friends on a trip to England and France when we popped into the 63rd Paris Motor Show, or as it was known then, Le Salon de l'Automobile, where I took this Kodachrome slide. December 1940. Japanese fruit farmer and his son. Placer County, California. December 1940. Corpus Christi, Texas. Small boy, son of carpenter from Hobbs, New Mexico, reading funny papers in corner of room in tourist court. Lack of adequate closet space is evident. I thought about titling this A Study in Kodachrome Blue and Red, but didn't. I took it on a trip to the historic Nevada silver mining town in August 1965. January 1914. Second Annual Washington Automobile Show, Convention Hall. Boston circa 1910. Boylston Street. the place to go for corsets and riding habits. Circa 1910. Michigan Central RR electric engine, Detroit River Tunnel. American actress Tina Louise, beautiful photo shoot 1958. Chicago circa 1911. Under the Tracks, Washington Boulevard, Chicago Northwestern Railway Station. (1908) University Circle, Cleveland, Ohio. Case Western Reserve University. April 1941. Houses and grocery store on Federal Street in the Negro section of Chicago. April 1941. Booth and Negro Tavern on South Side of Chicago. September 1940. Distributing newspapers off the morning train to Newsbuzz at the railroad station. Montrose, Colorado. August 1940. Box Elder County, Utah. Farm Security Administration Cooperative Tractor. Actually, Lower Echo Lake, a body of water about 7 miles south of Lake Tahoe as the crow flies. We didn't actually make use of the lake on our 1966 vacation. April 1942. Chicago. Negro businessmen and women. On his way to play at an afternoon show, bandleader Red Saunders stops to say goodbye to his wife. New Jersey circa 1900. View near Basking Ridge. Bonus photo for you, a beautiful retro woman. English actress Margaret Nolan, 1970. Swedish actress Anita Ekberg in a beautiful dress, 1952. June 1941. Family of Marine in their living room. They live in one of the units of the Navy Defense Housing Project, which is designed for naval people, Marines, and some civilian defense workers. San Diego, California. New York, 1938. Woman and girls at the back of an apartment house on East 63rd Street. New York, 1938. Woman and girls at the back of an apartment house on East 63rd Street. New York, New York. A boy sleeping at his home on East 62nd or 63rd Street. New York, New York. John Montefiere's sister-in-law in her kitchen at 340 East 63rd Street. Mr. Montefiore, tenant and janitor of the building, works in a sculpture factory that turns out the little white horses for White Horse whiskey, etc. 1938. New York, New York. East 63rd Street Apartments. New York, New York. Corner of 1st Avenue and East 62nd Street. June 1941. Farm worker's wife teaches her baby girl to walk at the FSA labor camp. Caldwell, Idaho. July 1941. 20 mule team drawn combine. Walla Walla County, Washington. This outfit gets to work at 6 in the morning. Knocks off at 11 for rest, food and water for mules and men. Goes back to work at 1 and works till 6. San Francisco City Hall on March 14, 1965. I was with friends to take in the St. Patrick's Day parade, and we apparently tooled around beforehand, giving me an opportunity to take this Kodachrome slide with its smattering of cars, some of them already classics. 1938. New York, New York. Children on 1st Avenue. This uncaptioned photo from the Library of Congress archive has no date or attribution, although various clues point to it being taken in 1938 by Sheldon Dick, somewhere in the East. American actress Raquel Welch in cute bikini photo shoot 1965. May 1941. San Diego. Family living at Kearny Mesa Defense Housing Project. This man came to California from Oklahoma 10 years ago. San Francisco circa 1920. Studebaker Big Six town car. Detroit, 1907. Penobscot Building and State Savings Bank, Fort and Shelby Streets. Charleston, South Carolina, circa 1910. Meeting Street and St. Michael's Church. East Gloucester, Massachusetts, circa 1910. Niles Beach. Circa 1910. Gate Lodge and Niles Beach, East Gloucester, Massachusetts. Schuylkill County, Pennsylvania, 1938. Shenandoah. House fronts in a mining town. May 1940. One of the 7 children of WWII FSA client near Venton, Maryland. May 1940. 2 boys, sons of fishermen. Deal Island, Maryland. May 1940. Farm Security Administration client Roger Spence and 2 of his sons. 2 miles out of Princess and Maryland. November 1940. Tulare County, California. Son of worker weighing up milk at Mineral King Cooperative Farm. Accurate milk records of each cow are kept. (1941). Boy who caught the greased pig at the 4th of July celebration at Vail, Oregon. Says he's going to join the 4-H club so he can learn how to feed his pig properly. (1941). Kids race at the 4th of July celebration in Vail, Oregon. Actually, my aunt, Shirley Archer, daughter of Ralphie and Mildred M. Archer, owners of the Archer Camera Shop in Titusville, Pennsylvania, 1945. June 1941. Transient workers. Boxing platform at FSA Migratory Farm Labor Camp Mobile Unit. Athena, Oregon. November 1939. Truck with bales of cotton from Hobson Planting Company gin going up highway to warehouse near Clarksdale, Mississippi Delta. December 1940. San Diego, California. Workers' automobiles parked near the airplane factories. Providing parking space for automobiles and getting the cars in and out at shift changing time have been big problems. July 1941. Spectators at kids' contests at the 4th of July celebration in Vail, Oregon. July 1941. Kids tug of war at the 4th of July celebration at Vail, Oregon. My mother, far left, with some of her young and attractive co-workers from Salem Gas Electric posing for the New England Electric System magazine cover in the early spring of 1951. June 1941. The cat drinks foamy, fresh milk. Dairyman's Cooperative Creamery, Caldwell, Kenyon County, Idaho. July 1941. Adding new storage space to wheat elevator at Dayton, Washington. High yields of wheat this year were taxing storage facilities. They were getting ready for a bumper crop. May 1956. Memphis, Tennessee. Elvis Presley at home with his mother, Gladys. July 1941. 9th Street Amusements, Washington, D.C. The beautiful June Wilkinson, English model and actress known for her appearances in Playboy magazine. July 1939. En route to California. Pouring water into radiator of migrant's car in the streets of Muskogee, Oklahoma, where the Elmer Thomas family has stopped to say goodbye to their friends in that town. July 1939. Migrant boy who is somewhat of a mechanic tightening the rear wheel on truck which will carry his family, that of tenant farmer Elmer Thomas, to California from Muskogee, Oklahoma. May 1940. Main Street of Bisbee, Arizona. Copper Mining Center. October 1939. Masquerade at Halloween Party. Hillview Cooperative, Osage Farms, Missouri. June 1939. Son of day laborer living in Arkansas River Bottom at Webbers Falls, Muskogee County, Oklahoma. The father is a former tenant farmer, now on WPA. June 1939. Son of day laborer living in Arkansas River Bottom at Webbers Falls, Muskogee County, Oklahoma. The father is a former tenant farmer, now on WPA. May 1909. Leopold Daigneault and Arsène Lucier. Back roping boys in mule spinning room at Chase Cotton Mill, Burlington, Vermont. (1902). Superior Street, Duluth, Minnesota. Detroit circa 1910. Wayne Hotel Pavilion, 3rd Street, Detroit River. Washington, D.C., 1922. Connecticut Avenue, north from Ingomar Street. Bonus photo for you, a beautiful retro woman. Samantha Fox photo shoot in a beautiful outfit, 1990. This is the lovely Gaynor Goodman, 1960. Albany, New York, circa 1904. Pearl Street north from State Street. (1954). Harley Earl, General Motors Vice President of Design, in Frigidaire's Kitchen of Tomorrow exhibit for the GM Motorama at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in New York. Los Angeles, 1955. Comedians George Burns and Gracie Allen. August 1940. Carbon County, Pennsylvania. Street in Upper Mauch Chunk, a small historic coal mining town in the Lehigh Valley. August 1940. Miner at Doherty's Mine, near Falls Creek, Pennsylvania. September 1940. Mr. T.J. Long, president of the Tri-County Farmers Co-op Market in Clearfield County, Pennsylvania, at his work in a railroad tower near Dubois. December 1940. One of the daughters of Mr. Ilullo, Italian FSA client and truck gardener. She is preparing spaghetti and meatballs. Portsmouth, Rhode Island. June 1941. Dressing crates of peas for shipment. Canyon County, Idaho. December 1940. The family of John Kelly, who works in the Navy Yard in South Boston. Their present tenement in Quincy is completely inadequate. They have been unable to move because every real estate agent has turned him down. January 1941. Store going out of business. Lowell, Massachusetts. December 1940. Portsmouth, Rhode Island. Mrs. Botello and her sister, Portuguese FSA clients. (1906). The New Magnolia, Magnolia, Massachusetts. Completed in 1891. This resort hotel near Gloucester was destroyed by fire in 1907. Circa 1904. Boston Massacre Monument, Boston, Massachusetts. Havana circa 1904. A Cuban Volanta. New York circa 1909. Hotel Imperial, Broadway and West 32nd Street. With the Union Dime Savings Bank at right and the new Metropolitan Life Tower in the background. (1900) Pennsylvania Academy of the Fine Arts, Philadelphia. January 1941. Commuters who have just gotten off the train waiting for the bus to go home. Lowell, Massachusetts. Famous photo model Betty Brosman, 1964. December 1940. At a Saturday night square dance in Clayville, Rhode Island. May 1941. Soldiers from Fort Benning in a country store near Phoenix City, Alabama. Chicago, May 12, 1919. Return parade for the 13th Railway Engineers, Michigan Boulevard. May 1941. Street corner in Greensboro, Greene County, Georgia. April 1941. A game of pool in the general store. Franklin, Heard County, Georgia. Circa 1910. Forbes Field, Pittsburgh. Los Angeles, 1955. Comedians George Burns and Gracie Allen. June 1940. Trucks and service station on Bladensburg Road, Washington, D.C., U.S. Route 1. April 1941. Franklin, Heard County, Georgia. A game of pool in the general store. January 1940. Tenants living in a cracker box. Slum tenement in Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania. December 1940. Grocery store window in Bath, Maine. Food prices do not seem to have gone up as yet but are expected to. April 1941. Mrs. Lemuel Smith, wife of Farm Security Administration borrower, preparing the afternoon meal on her farm in Carroll County, Georgia. St. Mark's Square, circa 1950. From a set of Kodachrome slides I found in an antique store, apparently taken by American tourists. The slides aren't dated, but the mounts are the type used by Kodak from 1950 to 1955. May 1941. Soldiers from Fort Benning in a country store near Phoenix City, Alabama. June 1940. Truckers at the Capitol Truck Comfort Station on New York Avenue. U.S. No. 1, Washington, D.C. Charming Stefania Ferrario, 1960. May 1940. Corner store at 11 p.m. Durham, North Carolina. April 1941. Instructors in roller skating at the Savoy Ballroom in Chicago. August 1940. The family of John User i.e. Yenser. Mauch Chunk, Pennsylvania. Photos of East, Upper, and Lower Mauch Chunk, a small historic coal mining town in the Lehigh Valley. August 1940. One of the children of John User Yenser, of Mauch Chunk, a coal mining town in Pennsylvania's Lehigh Valley. July 1941. Vail, Oregon. Baseball players and spectators stand at attention while Chief Justice Stone gives the oath of allegiance over the radio. July 1940. Florida agricultural migrant with a group who had their own tent which they pitched outside the grading station at Belcross, North Carolina. July 1939. Oklahoma City. Boy living in May Avenue camp with homemade axe. July 1941. Farm boys getting on the Ferris wheel, one of the attractions at the 4th of July celebration at Vail, Oregon. June 1941. Street scene in Cascade, Idaho. Cascade is a microcosm of Idaho's past and present. All the industries of the state, including lumbering, mining, agriculture, stock raising, and tourist trade, are apportioned to this town and its valley. April 1941. Candy stand run by Negro, South Side Chicago. (1905) State Street, Boston, Massachusetts. Circa 1901. Michigan Central RR Station at Ann Arbor. Cleveland circa 1906. Cleveland, Pittsburgh, or Docks. March 1959. Home Economist and Anderson demonstrating appliances and features of RCA Whirlpool Miracle Kitchen of the Future, a display at the American National Exhibition in Moscow. Bonus photo for you, a beautiful retro woman. American actress Linda Carter, 1988. Uschi Glas, German film actress, 1966. Circa 1906. Entrance, NYC. HRR Station, Albany, New York. The Beaux-Arts Depot of the New York Central Hudson River Railroad, also known as Albany Union Station. November 28, 1940. Ledyard, Connecticut. The family of Mr. Timothy Levy Crouch, a Rogerian Quaker, at their annual Thanksgiving Day dinner. A 20-pound turkey was dispensed with in short order. April 1941. Family of Lemuel Smith, Farm Security Administration borrower, sang grace at the afternoon meal. Carroll County, Georgia. April 1941. Mrs. Lemuel Smith still has some canned goods left over from the winter. Carroll County, Georgia. April 1941. Mr. and Mrs. Lemuel Smith and their younger children in their farmhouse, Carroll County, Georgia. January 1941. Andover, Massachusetts. One of the sons of Anthony Fergetta, Italian vegetable farmer, feeding the horse after coming home from school. Mr. Fergetta and a daughter work at the mills nearby. January 1941. New Bedford, Massachusetts. Bringing home some salvaged firewood in a slum area. October 1940. harvesting potatoes with a single-row tractor-drawn digger on a farm near Caribou, Maine. Indianapolis circa 1906. Masonic Temple, Washington Street, Capitol Avenue. San Francisco, 1920. Standard 8 touring car. March 1941. A traveling sideshow. Crime museum, consisting of dilapidated effigies of famous criminals run by an old, shell-shocked World War veteran. Near Fort Bragg, North Carolina. March 1941. Effigies of George Washington, Joe Louis, and some criminal in a traveling sideshow crime museum. Washington and Joe Louis are examples of what you may become if you go straight. Near Fort Bragg, North Carolina. August 1940. Street in Coaldale, Pennsylvania. March 1941. Car advertising crime museum traveling sideshow near Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Washington, D.C., circa 1912. Unidentified group. December 1940. Christmas trees for sale at the market. Providence, Rhode Island. American actress Farrah Fawcett, 1970. March 1941. Construction worker from Fort Bragg. He lives in this homemade bunkhouse in Manchester, North Carolina. August 1940. Old houses on Ray Street in Mauch Chunk, Pennsylvania. My sister and brother in a 1949 photo on 2nd Avenue in Altoona, Pennsylvania. Not many years later, at 16, I demolished this Buick. And please take notes if you'd like to demolish a Buick. Skidding on wet streetcar tracks, too much speed might have been involved, and nailing a brick porch next door to Sacred Heart Convent on 6th Avenue. August 9, 1947. San Francisco. Ford Dairy Van Borden's cottage cheese. New York circa 1918. 5th Avenue and Grand Army Plaza, north towards Central Park. Detroit circa 1908. Woodward Avenue looking north from Opera House Corner. April 1941. South Side Chicago. Scene in Negro Tavern. The walls adorned with murals from the Disney version of Snow White. November 1940. Pool Hall in Shasta County, California. Recreation for the workers and engineers building the Shasta Dam across the Sacramento River. March 1941. Part of the exhibit of the Traveling Show Crime Museum near Fort Bragg, North Carolina. June 1941. Main Street of Siloam, Greene County, Georgia. May 1941. Soldiers from a nearby Army camp waiting for the bus in Anniston, Alabama. April 1941. Chicago. Children playing next to condemned building in the Black Belt, Negro section on the south side. June 1941. The VD Clinic in Union Point, Greene County, Georgia. September 1954. Marilyn Monroe performing Latin dance number Heat Wave in the movie musical There's No Business Like Show Business. May 1938. Carnival employee sleeping in hammock underneath wagon of Lass's White Show. Sikeston, Missouri. California, circa 1912. On the Trail. A supposedly fun thing I'll never do again. The prequel. May 1938. Sikeston, Missouri. Erecting tent for Lass's White Show. Lass's being Lee, Molasses, White, 1888 to 1949, minstrel show impresario as well as star of radio, stage. American actress Linda Carter, 1970. February 1942. Harlingen, Texas. Farm Security Administration Camp. Morning routine at nursery school. October 1937. Used tires Minot, North Dakota. May 1938. Member of Carnival crew at work erecting tent for Lass's White Traveling Show. Sikeston, Missouri. July 1938. Aliquippa, Pennsylvania. The Clifford Shorts family at dinner. Mr. Shorts is a roller at the Jones Laughlin Steel Mill. June 30th, 1893. Waiting for the train, girl and boy in railroad depot, map of Ohio on wall. October 1940. Lunch hour at one of the farms of the Woodman Potato Company. All of the pickers and field laborers eat in this converted tool house, 11 miles north of Caribou, Maine. October 1940. Mr. Thomas Festa, Italian FSA client with his horse on his farm 2 miles out of Newtown, Connecticut. September 1940. Mrs. Garland and her little boy. Family lives in the submarginal farm area of Rumsey Hill, near Erin, New York. January 1941. Houses in Pittsburgh Crucible Steel Company in Midland, Pennsylvania. January 1941. Children in Midland, Pennsylvania. January 1941. Mill District of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Long stairway in a working class section. January 1941. Little boy in Freedom, Pennsylvania. January 1941. Scene in West Aliquippa, Pennsylvania. Stacks of the Jones and Laughlin Steel Corporation in background. January 1941. The end of the afternoon shift at the Jones and Laughlin Steel Corporation. Aliquippa, Pennsylvania. Bonus photo for you, a beautiful retro woman. Charming Marissa Mathis, 1962.